Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm back today with yet another chapter of my 500 subscribers Q&A. So just to recap once more, if you're not familiar with this, in order to celebrate reaching 500 subscribers, I'm running a contest where I ask viewers if they wished to ask me some questions, and then they can be in the draw for a prize. You probably all know the score now. So because there have been a lot of questions from people, which has been fantastic, I've actually decided to split this up into several videos because some of the questions are quite detailed. So as my estimate, I think we will probably require 2 more videos to finish this questionnaire, including this one. So this one and one more. So today I'll probably get through the rest of the people who made video questionnaires for me. So again, those questions are quite detailed. So I'm going to try and cover those, and that should probably be enough for today. We'll see how time goes. Anyway, all right, so welcome to chapter 3 of the Q&A. So the first person in today's video who's asking me questions is Simon from England, and he's better known as Pieface. That's his YouTube channel name. So you're probably all familiar with him. I entered a contest for him recently, and actually a couple of times, I think. But yeah, everyone in the YouTube community knows Simon because he's an extremely generous guy. He sends people a lot of VCLT packages, and he always finds the time to watch people's videos and comment on them as well, which is something that I don't always do necessarily, because not because I'm lazy, but you know, it's just hard to get around to comment on everyone's videos. But anyway, Simon always does. So yeah, he's asked me some interesting questions as part of this contest, actually 4 questions which I'm willing to answer. So his first question was, name your latest discovery of a new black metal band. So some of you have probably heard me say before that I'm not the most cutting edge, up-to-date guy. Like, I'm not up to speed with everything which is absolutely brand new, and I'm not into what's hot and what's not. But of course, from watching other people's YouTube videos or listening to music randomly, I do discover new bands. So I'll just say this list that I've prepared, these are not necessarily new bands, but bands which are new to me, bands which I recently discovered. And all of these ones on today's list, I actually discovered just from listening to YouTube black metal mixes. So when I was away recently, I didn't have my music collection with me, so I just listened to some random black metal mixes on YouTube, and these are some bands which I really got into. I won't go into detail with those because there's quite a lot of them, but yeah, go and listen for yourselves. But I think these bands are really good and they really impressed me, and that was out of a large amount of bands that I listened to. So first of all, the following bands are all from Finland, and I really enjoyed them. So the first band which I discovered recently is a band called Aegrus, I think, or Aegrus, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Aegrus, but really enjoyed that. That's kind of very Finnish sounding black metal, of course, because they're from Finland, but it also has that kind of Nordic, Viking, pagan kind of folky vocal as well, which you hear in bands like Ensiferum and Moon Sorrow. So I really got into Aegrus, great atmosphere. Another band that I've been getting into a lot lately is Sargeist, and of course that's not a new band. They're extremely well known, and they get a lot of praise in the extreme metal community, black metal community, with good reason. They're a fantastic band. I do own one of their albums, which is Satanic Black Devotion. This is the debut, and it's absolutely brilliant, but I don't own anything else by them. But recently I've just been listening to some other albums by them on YouTube, and I've really enjoyed them. So no surprise, considering I'm a massive fan of Horner, and Schatraug from Horner is the guy behind this project as well, Sargeist. But yeah, really enjoy them, and I've actually seen them at Steelfest twice, I think. So yeah, Sargeist is another great Finnish band. Another fantastic band from Finland that I discovered is, I'm not sure if you pronounce it Maras or Maras, but that's very sort of symphonic black metal in the vein of Emperors in the Nightside Eclipse, which I really enjoyed. Also another band from Finland called Etheric, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll leave the name down the bottom, but Etheric, yeah, that really left an impression on me, as well as another Finnish band called Daimhal. So they're my newest recommendations for Finnish black metal. Now, I also discovered been listening to a lot of Hellenic black metal on YouTube as well, but 2 bands which really stood out to me through random listens. One band was called Raven Cult, and another band was called Tartir. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the Tartir one, it was a demo, but it was just like that very sort of raw, grainy, but atmospheric Greek black metal, very similar to you know, early Rotting Christ, early Varathron, Zephyrus, and bands like that. And so another band which I also discovered recently is one from Austria called Hexenbrett. And that was just through a random listen as well. So I've always liked Austrian black metal because I think it has a unique atmosphere and its own style. It often has a very kind of enchanting medieval character, as you hear in bands like Abigor and like Belphegor as well. You know, there's what's another black metal band which I really like from Austria? The album is called Violent Soundtrack Martyrium. Oh, Astaroth. Astaroth is a fantastic Austrian black metal band. Yeah, so there are just some other ones, but yeah, Hexenbrett was one which really stood out to me as well. So, like I said, these are not necessarily new bands, but bands I've newly got into, so check them out if you have time. All right, Simon's second question was, what is the longest distance you've ever run, and do you run marathons? I think officially the longest distance I've ever run is 21 kilometers. That was a half marathon in Sydney, which was actually, that was over 15 years ago now, but it was a really good half marathon because you started by running over the harbour bridge and through the city, and then the track looped into the suburbs and then back around into the city, and we ended up finishing at the Opera House. So very picturesque, scenic run, which was fantastic. I was very happy to be part of that. But I think maybe I have run longer in training, like where I used to live, I used to do this run, which was a 7-kilometer circuit. And I think one weekend when I was bored, I may have done 4 or 5 laps of that. So like 28 or 35 kilometers maybe, but that was not in a racing context. But so I have done a half marathon officially. I've never done a full marathon. That takes some training. However, there is another half marathon coming up in Bangkok, which my friend asked me to join, and I think I'm going to do that. But as for a full marathon, I think you need proper training and preparation for that, because 42 kilometers is a long way, and I think I would struggle with that, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so thanks a lot, Simon. That's your second question answered. So his third question was very subtly asked. No, he said, what the hell do you do for work? Because he was wondering what brought me to the country, you know, in terms of a job and everything, so to Thailand. And actually, in response to your question, over here I was an English teacher, so teaching English as a second language for a long time. It was for over 10 years actually, and that was until quite recently. So I started off in the first few years working in teaching in language centers, where you teach private students and group classes and people of all ages. And then that also involved teaching some corporate classes where you go out to a company and you teach the office workers. Those people were really nice, but the problem for me is I find business English, teaching that as a subject, is a little bit dry and boring, but yeah, it was still a great experience. And then after that, I also taught for many years in a big school. And again, that's a different style because you teach bigger classes and there's more admin and paperwork. But yeah, so in total, I was an English teacher of English as a second language for over 10 years until just recently. And the reason I resigned is just because I wanted to take a break from that. Because believe it or not, teaching is heavy going. I know some people think, oh, it's so easy, you just follow the book and write on the board. Honestly, try it. You'll find it quite stressful and heavy going, especially with all of the admin and paperwork and classroom management. But certainly it is a rewarding and fulfilling job, but I'm just having a break for now. So yeah, thanks, Simon. So next question, he asked me, is there any movie that you'd like to watch at the cinema? The short response to that is yes, many. So in this list, there are some that I actually have seen at the cinema. So one of them is Gladiator. So I mentioned this in response to Metal Marty Mac, that this is one of my favorite movies. I actually saw this when it came out at a cinema in London. So that was awesome because it's an epic ancient world movie. And another one that I have seen at the cinema is The Mummy, you know, the one with Brendan Fraser. That's one of my favorite films. Again, I stupidly had 2 copies of the DVD and I gave it away, but I love that because it's another epic ancient world movie and it was fantastic to see on the big screen. So some other ones that I would also like to watch at the cinema, I think, would be Braveheart, because I'm a massive fan of that film, and again, it's epic battle scenes and, you know, just an epic film in general. So and one of my favorites. So Braveheart, I would love to see that on the big screen, as well as Mad Max 1. So this is another one of my favorite movies. I haven't mentioned that yet. So the original, I think from 1979, starring Mel Gibson, but it is just so gritty and so Australian, and dark. I just love this movie, and I think it would be awesome to see on the big screen. So maybe one day. And another one that I'd like to see in the cinema is The Two Towers. So in the Lord of the Rings series, I actually saw parts 1 and 3 at the cinema, and I didn't really enjoy those, to be honest, because they were just too long and too boring. Like the Fellowship of the Ring, it did have its moments, especially with that initial excitement with the atmosphere and everything, but The Return of the King just went on way too fucking long. But I would love to see The Two Towers at the cinema, because that's easily my favorite. I just love that epic battle scene at Helm's Deep, and I think it would be awesome on the big screen. And another movie I'd like to see at the cinema, another ancient world movie, is Troy, which is another one of my favorite films. So yeah, quite a few there. Okay, so thanks a lot, Simon. They're your 4 questions answered. Thanks for participating. And up next, we have some questions from Trevor, otherwise known as Fumes of Hatred. So I've spoken about Trevor before. I've entered a few of his contests. He lives in the Pacific Northwest of the US. Not sure which city exactly, but you know, he's a very easygoing, laid-back guy who's really into extreme metal and very knowledgeable. So he's asked me some interesting questions too, so let's get started with those. His first question was, what are 3 to 5 of your favorite labels or distros to purchase from? So very good question. Now in this I've included some labels that I don't really buy from anymore, but I did a lot in the past. So an example of that is Relapse Records. Like they were very influential for me in the 90s when I randomly got sent this Relapse catalog. I think it was after ordering a t-shirt or something, but they had this encyclopedia of an order form where they described all the bands, and I thought it was just brilliant. I used to just read that in my spare time, like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. But yeah, Relapse Records, fantastic label. They released some really sort of envelope-pushing, off-the-wall, experimental extreme metal, and they got me into a lot of really interesting bands like Nile, Incantation, Amorphous. Yeah, so I'm very indebted to Relapse for introducing me to great music, plus they're a distributor of a lot of other great metal music as well. So yeah, Relapse would be one. Also another one for me is Hell's Headbangers, because they re-release a lot of really cool stuff, like old school extreme metal releases like death metal and black metal, and they reissue them and they press them on colored vinyl. So you've seen me in some of my updates, I've talked about them quite a lot, and they're very efficient in sending the product out to you quickly, and they often have these like bulk sales where you can buy 5 vinyls for a cheap price, or CDs or everything. So yeah, Hell's Headbangers is great if you like extreme metal, which most viewers here do. Who else? Also, one I mentioned recently is The Crypt, otherwise known as Dark Descent. That's run by a guy called Ted from the US. And remember a few months back, I did my Australian extreme metal update. I actually bought all of those releases from this particular label. So The Crypt, Dark Descent, and they are re-releasing some really rare Australian extreme metal, which is fantastic. So I mentioned some of those bands, you know, like Cohort, Anatomy, and so on. And also Ted is a really great guy and very helpful, you know, with the ordering process. I had a problem because there was some glitch with the website, but he personally helped me to ensure that the order got sent out quickly, so that was great. Okay, another record label that I really enjoy buying from is Bowel of Noise. That's actually run by the guys from the Greek black metal band Medieval Demon. So you've heard me talk about them in recent years, how they're one of my favorite newer Greek black metal bands. But yeah, so if you like Hellenic and Greek black metal, they stock a lot of that, but also a lot of other black metal in general. So it was great. You can order all of their albums, all of the Medieval Demon albums from Bowel of Noise, in addition to other Greek black metal bands, some really obscure stuff, so that's great. And another label that I really like and have ordered a lot of over the years is No Colors Records in Germany. So they release a lot of Central European and Eastern European black metal, like for example Graveland, they've got a lot of their albums. And again, if you just like that style, like Finnish black metal, Eastern European and German black metal, you can find a lot of it through No Colors Records. Yeah, so there are 5 there. So we have Relapse Records, Hell's Headbangers, The Crypt / Dark Descent, Bowel of Noise, and No Colors. All right, so Trevor's second question was, what's an album you got rid of for some reason and you want to or can't get it back? Okay, so I think I've mentioned this actually in your competition before, Trevor. I once owned this fantastic album by a fantastic Croatian black metal band called Castrum, entitled Black Silhouette Enfolded in Sunrise, and that is vampiric gothic black metal. So if you like stuff like Cradle of Filth and Hecate Enthroned, especially the earlier stuff, yeah, you would love Castrum. And also it has a very sort of unique medieval and enchanting atmosphere, and I love that album. But as I mentioned in your contest, Trevor, many years ago I loaned a workmate some CDs. I think I gave her 6, and then she only returned 4, and the other 2 she said, oh, I will get them back to you, and she never did, unfortunately. So one of them was Castrum and the other one was Hate Holy Dead Trinity. So I would like both of those back, so if that person's watching, get in contact. So yeah, and another album I would like to get back is by this band. This is the Australian black death metal band Anatomy. You can see this album here is The Witches of Dathomir, which is the second full length, I believe. But I used to own the first one, Where Angels Die, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I thought, oh, that's one I don't listen to much, so I ended up selling it. And I completely regret selling it because I love the band Anatomy, and I recently got their demos as well, and I think it was just a rash decision, so they would be 2, yeah. Castrum, Black Silhouette Enfolded in Sunrise, and Anatomy, Where Angels Die. Okay, and for his final question, Trevor asked me something about food, which is interesting. He said, what's a food or snack which you can go years without, but when you do have it, it's irresistible? Okay, so Finnish viewers, please be patient with my pronunciation. I'm not so sure if I'm saying this correctly, but one such snack or dish which I really liked is it's a Finnish dish. So when I was in Finland over for Steelfest 2 years in a row, I tried this, and it's called lihapiirakka, I think. Lihapiirakka, but I'm not sure. So Finns, please be easy on me. But what that is what they call a meat pie, but it's not like the Australian meat pie, which is different. You know, Australian meat pie is minced meat and gravy encased in pastry, which is delicious, by the way. You know, 4 and 20 pies, awesome. And that's no doubt derived from English culture, just like most things Australian are. But yeah, this Finnish meat pie, lihapiirakka, it's not really a pie. It's sort of minced meat, rice, and spices, maybe with onions as well, encased in something. It's not really bread. It sort of reminded me of donut material, you know, like on a jam donut, but without the jam or without the sugar, but just that kind of deep fried, doughy kind of bread containing minced meat and spices, and it's absolutely delicious. And I remember the first time I tried it, it was at Vantaa Airport in Helsinki, and I ordered one of those, and then the man prepared it for me, and he said, over there you can get all the different sauces and ketchups, anything you want. I was like, oh, stop it, this is awesome. So yes, really love lihapiirakka, the Finnish meat pie. And the reason I go a long time without it is because I'm not often in Finland. Like I was there 2 years in a row for Steelfest, but I don't think I'll be hurrying back there for another Steelfest, just because it's a long way away, first of all, and it costs money. But also, as I get older, I don't really like crowds, so I'm going off festivals. That might sound incredibly boring, but one thing's for sure, if I get back to Finland one day, I'm going to try another lihapiirakka, a meat pie. All right, so thanks a lot, Trevor, for your questions. Now I think probably for the final set of questions today, considering the detail involved in these questions, I'm going to go through one more lot, and that's from Rick from the Dreadful Minutes. So remember, Rick, you're probably familiar with his channel too. He's a really nice and funny guy, and he's into a lot of music, extreme metal, punk, progressive music, all sorts of stuff, and his videos are really entertaining. And I actually really like his accent and his elocution, the way he, I don't know, just pronounces his words. It's just like, how could I describe it? It's just really satisfying to the ear. So I always like watching his videos, and his entry for this was absolutely fantastic, hilarious, and entertaining. So he actually, if you break it down in terms of the off-the-wall kind of questions he actually asked 6 questions. But yes, because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to answer all of them, and Rick has always been very supportive of my channel. So he started off with 3 informal questions, one of which was, have you had any bad monkey experiences on your travels or where you live in Thailand? The answer is, oh yes. Some funny, others not so funny. So we'll start with the funny one. one time when I was in Hua Hin, the city of Hua Hin, which is a coastal town, they had a monkey temple up there, and there were a lot of people looking around. You can see the monkeys up there. They're quite small, you know, like, but the adults can get pretty big actually. But when we were there was a lot of people standing around looking at all the monkeys, and there was this older Swedish man with a video camera and an Eric Clapton t-shirt. I just remember that. But he got sort of too close towards the center, and all the monkeys started jumping on his back and pulling at his t-shirt and everything, which, you know, I would never laugh at someone's misfortune, but it was a pretty random sight, and he got stressed, but luckily he didn't get bitten or scratched or anything. But I suppose that's a lesson. You don't get too close to the monkeys, especially when holding personal belongings, because they always want to steal them. So speaking of which, that brings me to a second anecdote. About 10 years ago, when I was traveling with my girlfriend at the time, we stopped at another temple, and we were carrying a bottle of water. We were just looking around, and the monkeys were just sort of stalking and following us. And then I realized they were eyeing out the bottle of water. So I can't remember if we decided to get rid of it or if they attacked us of their own accord, but it was a bit scary because one of them leapt and scratched my girlfriend on the hand. So we had to go to a local pharmacy, you know, to get an antidote for that, you know, to prevent rabies. So yeah, that's the horrible thing about monkeys. They are fascinating animals and, you know, interesting to look at, but I would suggest from a distance, because if you get too close with personal belongings, they might try to steal something or attack you. So that's what happened there. And this is just another kind of amusing anecdote. It's when my mum was visiting a couple of years ago. We went to look at another temple, and at the temple you could buy snacks. So we got an ice cream, I think, because it was a hot day, and it was just funny because there was a monkey. I just realized at one moment there was a monkey following us, and it was looking up at my mum, and I said to my mum, I think he wants your ice cream. And it was so funny because she looked down and went, well, you're not getting any. And then he just ripped up and snatched it. It was like, bullshit. Just shredded it open and ate the whole ice cream. And then it was hilarious because then a local person had the gall to say, watch out for the monkeys. It's like, oh yeah, thanks for that retrospective advice. But yeah, luckily it didn't attack my mum or anything, but it just swiftly snatched it. But it was just so funny because she said, well, you're not getting it. And then it was like, oh yeah, we'll see about that. And then, speaking of which, there was another experience I had a couple of years ago when I was walking with my brother in a province called Phetchaburi, which is not far from where I live now. It's famous for a lot of temples again, but we were walking around town, and it is renowned as a monkey town because there's this mountain where the monkeys live. But we were walking back from 7-Eleven just with a bag full of groceries like crisps, because I think we'd eaten in a cafe, and with cafe food, it's never filling, you're not satisfied. So we got some random junk snacks like crisps, chips, potato chips, as they say in America, you know, in a plastic bag. And we were just walking, and I just felt something tug at the bag, and I looked down, and this monkey went like bared its teeth threateningly, and I went, ugh! But before I could pull the bag away, it just ripped the whole thing in half. All the contents spilled out, and then his buddies came along, they stole them and ran off. And then some Thai men ran out of the shop with sticks and poles, and we go, you know, threatening to hit them, and then they ran off. And then the man said, oh, you've got to be careful here because it is a monkey town. And I said, oh yes, I noticed that now, thanks. And he said, and be careful over there. He pointed across the road and said, that's where they live. And it just sounded so ominous and gloomy because you look over the road and there was this massive mountain enshrouded in bushes, and you can imagine just them inhabiting, you know, the dark corners of caves waiting for unsuspecting victims. Yeah, so they're just 4 monkey-related anecdotes, and they were all in Thailand. So thanks for that question, Rick. His second question was, is it hard to move your collection when you move? He said, I don't really know where you're based. Well, for the last 2.5 years, I've been living in the same city. I did move into city before that, but within that time, I've moved a couple of times, as people may know, within this city. So Rick said, is it hard to move your collection? The short answer is yes, because I do own a lot of music, but like I said, not in comparison to a lot of other YouTubers. Like I have these 2 towers of CDs, another small rack of CDs, and then 4 boxes of vinyl, because I'm pretty selective with the music I buy. So it's not that bad. Like if I had a collection like Uncle Ken from Ken's Death Metal Crypt, or, you know, Metal Marty Mac, then I would be in trouble with moving. But yeah, so it's not too bad, but yeah, it's still a pain in the ass to move all your belongings when you're a record collector. So then Rick's third question was, why is your Instagram name different to your YouTube channel? So yes, if people aren't aware, I have an Instagram profile that is entitled Dark Woods 79, Dark Woods 79. So if you're interested in following me there, and no, I'm not trying to plug that, but I'm just saying, you know, if you're interested in the channel, you may want to have a look at it. You know, where I just post what I've been listening to and travel experiences, things like that. But the reason I did that was because a lot of my friends from my job at the time were following me on Instagram. So I just wanted to keep my YouTube channel anonymous and obscure to an extent. And some people might find that really strange, like, wouldn't you want to plug and promote your YouTube channel? Yes, but not to workmates particularly much, because I think this is a very sort of niche market. The only people who watch these are people into extreme metal, so I didn't feel comfortable telling my colleagues, oh yeah, I have an extreme metal YouTube channel. I probably think too much, but yeah, I didn't. But then the name Dark Woods just stuck, and I know other people who do that too, because like, you know, Nick from Motley Crue Forever, that was the name of his YouTube channel, which is, incidentally, it's more about black metal, but then his Instagram name is Wings of Sorrow. You know, so I know a lot of other people do it. So yeah, that was really the reason, just for obscurity and anonymity. Will I change the Instagram profile name to Stormwind? Maybe one day, but for now I'm happy having the two names. But just to let you know, Stormwind and Dark Woods are one and the same person, me. Okay, so now we get into Rick's official questions then. So he said, this was an interesting one. He asked some very thought-provoking questions as well, where I was thinking, that's not a typical question. But he said, what do you like best about the North American YouTubers? So talking about people who have YouTube channels like mine, but they're from US or Canada. So of course there are many of those. I think that's sort of probably where it all started, to be honest, but I'm not sure. But I know that the first YouTube channels I watched were Motley Crue Forever, so Nick, and also Canyon Bickle. So yeah, my opinion of North American YouTubers is I love those channels because they always put out really good content and the people are funny and entertaining. But it's really sort of, it's hard to generalize about a culture because I think everyone has their own style and their own personality. But just what I've noticed about American YouTubers, which I like, is that they're very sort of direct and clear, so they don't babble, unlike me. You know, sometimes I can go into too much detail, or I say or a lot, but I find Americans, at least the channels I watch, people don't say and so much, so they're just much more articulate maybe. Yeah, so I really like that. And you know, I've worked with a lot of Americans and have a lot of American friends, so I just like that direct, clear, no nonsense style of communication, and I think that's really good for a YouTube channel because it makes the delivery look really professional. Yeah, and not to mention that, you know, a lot of the people who run those YouTube channels, really nice people as well. And then Rick asked, what is the best thing, what do you like most about European YouTubers? And I guess the same thing, like a lot of great people run those as well, but what I like about, you know, watching a YouTube channel done by someone from Europe is you often get an insight into European culture and lifestyle and their personality, you know, but just by, you know, not just from the accent, but just also just their personality in general, you know, or when they're talking about activities they're doing outside of YouTube. And yeah, I just find that interesting. You know, for example, like one of my favorite European countries is the Netherlands. So it's like when I watch Mark or Thomas's channel, you know, I'm going, oh, I'm reminded of Dutch people, and you know, when I was traveling over there, it makes me want to go back, kind of thing. Or, you know, Kim from Denmark. Yeah, I just think it's interesting that, you know, the world over there are people running these YouTube channels, and there are, you know, different cultural aspects to their videos, I suppose, and also not to mention people's individual personalities. Yeah. Okay, so Rick's next question was, where do you stand on progressive music or progressive metal? And my short answer to that is, I think it's okay, but I'm not massively into it. And Rick kind of deduced that. He said, I never really hear you talking about that much, so maybe that means you don't like it. It's not that I necessarily dislike it, I'm just not massively into it, so it's not really my passion. I don't find it all that exciting. But of course, progressive music, it encapsulates such a broad range of music anyway. But in terms of one of the big bands he mentioned, I'm a really big fan of Yes. So the British progressive band, which started as a kind of psychedelic prog band in the 70s, I think. This is actually my favorite album though, so it is 90125, which came out in 83, I think. This is where they got Trevor Rabin as a co-vocalist, as a new member, but I'm an absolutely massive fan of this Yes album, and I like the band Yes in general. You know, in terms of other big progressive bands, I really haven't heard all that much, so, you know, feel free to mention in the comments ones you would recommend. Like, you know, King Crimson, I'm familiar with the band, but I've never really heard them much. In terms of progressive metal, yeah, the same really. It's just not really my major passion. Like, as Rick mentioned, I'm a fan of Enslaved, and that sort of started as Viking metal, Viking black metal, but then went more progressive and psychedelic. But yeah, I like that when a band actually progresses. That's cool. I'm not sure if I've heard that this band, Grip Inc., that they are progressive metal, and my brother actually got me into them, and I actually quite like Grip Inc., but I don't own anything by them officially. And the same with Tool. I know a lot of metalheads don't really like them because they say it's not real metal, but for me, I find it interesting. But again, am I a massive fan? Not really. It's just like a lot of progressive metal, I think, is just, it's interesting for something different, but it's not really my passion, so to speak. But as I said, feel free to recommend progressive bands which you like in the comments. Okay, Rick's next question was, so we're up to question number 6 now. He said, when you travel, are you immediately open to letting people know about your taste in music? Are you met with aloofness, and do you worry about it, or is it a worry for you? Do you ease in when you explain your taste in music? Now, that was quite a long question, which I typed verbatim, so yes, I can read, I just got lost there. The answer to that is really, it depends on the context and the country. Like, I'm not one to just go and start blabbing to people about, hey, I like this music. You know, it's sort of like, especially if there's no context for it, because then it might just sound a bit strange, like I know a lot of people do. It also depends on the country. So like, if the topic of music comes up, yeah, they'll say, what kind of music do you like? And I'll say, oh, you know, rock and metal. And then when they say, you know, they might ask me what kind of band. So I usually mention my top 3 sort of big bands like Kiss, Judas Priest, and Scorpions. But then I say I also like extreme metal. And yeah, but it really depends on the country. For example, like if you're in Finland, which is a highly, probably the most metal country in the world, if I'm wearing metal clothes around there, you know, I just look like I blend into the crowd, for example. So, you know, it's like, you know, a dime a dozen over in Finland for metal fans. You know, it's a very metal country. Whereas if I was in Norway, perhaps I wouldn't go around wearing black metal t-shirts so much, because I would think that might be a bit kind of posy to sort of, and of course there is a lot of stigma attached to black metal in that country. Like I've heard people get hissed at in the streets, you know, for wearing those shirts. Even though when I was in Norway a couple of years ago, when I was down at the harbour in Oslo to have a drink, I took my jacket off because it was warm. I did have an Emperor shirt, and I thought, does this look posy? I don't care. I'm just trying to enjoy the temperature here. Whereas if I was in a country like the United Arab Emirates, I probably wouldn't go around saying to people, oh yes, I like the Meads of Asphodel. So if you know the context of that, yeah, you will understand. So yeah, really it depends, but no, I don't try to, you know, plug my music, push my musical taste on other people. I don't try to tell them about it as if that defines me, but sure, if the topic comes up, I will. And then it's funny, like in a country like Thailand, if you're wearing extreme metal shirts or something, they go, oh, you like rock? And it's like, because I suppose rock music, it's the broad umbrella which covers all, even all extreme metal genres. So yeah, in Thailand, I just generally say to people I like rock, and then they'd say, oh, what, like Slipknot and Linkin Park? And I'm like, no, fuck no. But no offense if you like those bands, but no, I just say, but then there are a lot of, you know, Thai extreme metal fans and people who like the heavy metal in Thailand too. So yeah, it really depends. So no, I'm not really worried about telling people that, because it is a big part of my personality, but I don't feel I need to inform people and push it on them, because that sounds a bit try-hardy to me, like trying too hard for it to define me or something. Yeah, but yeah, it's always great when you meet someone who's into the same style of music and you start a conversation based on that. It's awesome. Okay. Yeah, and another thing he said was, like, because people probably wouldn't know that you're a metalhead, especially since you cut your hair. Yeah, that's true. Often if I mention it to people, they'll say, I never would have guessed that. But, you know, that's the case in a lot of people with longer hair before, yes. And, Rick, sorry, I meant to do this at the beginning, but I got distracted. So there you go. So Rick made a little joke. He said, James is so proper, so I'm going to wear glasses for this video. So here I am back in teaching mode. But sorry, Rick, I can't wear this for the rest of the questionnaire because I'm actually short-sighted, meaning I can't see from a long way away. So when I was a teacher, you're teaching in a big classroom, you need it, otherwise you're kind of blind. But I've also discovered that I'm long-sighted. But yes, thanks for wearing the glasses, Rick. All right. And in terms of suggestions for the channel, because I gave people that option as well, he said there are some YouTubers out there who combine their enjoyment of metal with hiking and nature. And have you thought about doing something like that? Yes, the short answer is actually, Jimmy, he runs the channel Future Ruins. He has a lot of videos like that, where he's going on hiking expeditions and he's combining that with his taste in metal, which I think is really interesting. Yes, I would love to do something like that. And in response to your question, Rick, you also said, would you be willing to join live streams? Actually, maybe, yes, I'm open to it. Like Jimmy did ask me a couple of years back, but we never got around to organizing it because it's just difficult with the time difference between North America and Asia. And I think you mentioned that, Rick, actually. But also, I don't know how well I'd do on a live stream because, in a social context, I'm a pretty introverted and shy person, so I don't know how well I would do that. Like, generally I'm like that socially, unless it's someone who I know really well, but I don't know, maybe in a live stream I might get nervous to speak because I'm not in my element, I don't know, but yeah, I'm open to it. Maybe I could do that with a couple of drinks or something. We'll see. Like, I've seen other, Kiss live streams where people are talking about it and they're drinking and smoking cigarettes. So yeah, it's a possibility, we'll see. And yes, in terms of making videos of my own where I combine my love of nature and metal, yes, maybe I often do that with Instagram stories, when I'm out in nature or at a landmark when I'm traveling, I'll combine it with a song which I think fits. But yes, maybe make longer videos like that. But only thing is I have dinosaur technology to make these videos, so I think I need to upgrade. And Rick said, what about making some videos, where you go on shopping trips and you're looking at music shops? And as I mentioned before, one of my favorite channels for that is Explosive Action, run by Simon from Australia. I love his videos where he goes on those shopping expeditions and he's looking through movie and music collections, among other things, and he goes to get lunch and goes to get a beer. I find those really entertaining. I would love to do that too. So as I mentioned, I think in response to Mark, yeah, I'm open to doing that in future and I will try, but I don't think it will be as good as Simon's because he's very articulate and he has the technology to narrate over the top and I can't do that, but maybe I can work something out. So yeah, we'll see. So thanks a lot, Rick, for your questions and suggestions. Right, guys, my mouth is so dry because I've been talking for nearly 40 minutes. And again, I only got through 3 people's sets of questions. But the good news is that concludes people who made video question entries. In the next video, I will respond to people who ask me questions in the comments. And I think I should be able to knock that over in one video. So again, thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed my answers to your questions. And let me know, everyone, I'm really interested to hear this. For the next video, do you want to see the final Q&A or do you want to see something different? I ran a poll recently on YouTube, and as it stands at the moment, people said they still want to see the Q&As, but you can still vote, you can still swing it, you can still change it, or just let me know what you want to see next, okay? Because I want to change it up if you want me to, all right? So, yeah, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for your support. And I will be back with the next video soon, whatever that may be, it's all up to you. And if you have any comments or suggestions or anything you want to say, let's get some discussion going in the comments. All right, so see you in the next video, guys. Take care and cheers. Bye.